Sorcery Contested Realm is an up-and-coming TCG that has so far 3 major sets, and 2 sets you and I will probably never see. Today we look at Arthurian Legends, a set based around the world of King Arthur's mythology, and the set so many of us, unfortunately not including me, grew up with. We learned about Aztecs instead for some reason. Yes, picture a little tiny me learning about human sacrifice and ripping the hearts out of people and all of that kind of thing, instead of knights, damsels and dragons. The UK education system has always been a little bit of a mess. So let's stop yammering and get into this mythical set. We start with avatars, the keystones of the game. They are literally you. This set has significantly fewer than beta, which to me represents Eric Curios's boiling down of the set to its key components and those which need focus and attention. In truth, beta had a lot of avatars, and that means a dynamic that was diverse and also a little bit power creepy. In general, I think it's fine because the first set is, of course, the first set. Archmaggio banishes 3 spells to cast a copy of one of them. This is a risky play, but it can help in a pinch. Druid is complicated, but essentially he gives you the chance to get a Tawny, which is a spellcaster, and a Bruin, which is able to attack and defend him. These are cool, and one is definitely a defender-style bear, the other is, as I say, a spellcaster, which is always useful. He also flips and gains an ability that deals 1 damage to an enemy entering a nearby site. He is by far my favourite avatar that I've seen because he's versatile and I do love druids. Templar exists to make your round table members easier to summon by reducing their cost by 1. It's simple but effective. Witch has the ability to screw the enemy over by dealing 2 damage, making spells cost 1 more mana, or making them puny by giving them -3 power. She's versatile, hilarious, and an example of a theme that we will see a lot. The subtle but not so subtle art of giving your enemy too many things to think about, then striking them when they are bewildered. There aren't that many avatars here, but what is here is a logical progression of some of the stuff I loved about beta. It's great to see some of the mechanics in the set distilled into these avatars. Archmaggio represents risky spells and doing everything you can to get them out. Druid represents the beasts and summoning 2 that have very different abilities. Templar is the round table buff, and Witch represents subterfuge, outright screwing players over with the use of outright debuffs. This square of different kinds of abilities is not all that the set has to offer, but it is a great leaping off point if this is your first set. It takes some of the unfocused energy of the previous set and drives it forward, I think, giving you new options and ways of actually playing the game. Picking which minions I wanted to cover here was hard, but I definitely did want to cover some. On the round table side of things, we have cards such as Sir Bedivere, who is just straight up free draw power. We have Sir Galahad, who is kind of incredible, providing just straight up immunity from demons, spirits, and the undead. And we have Sir Ironside, who is a powerful minion that buffs himself on the enemy's turn, effectively becoming a 7/7 for 4 mana. We have so many round table knights and sirs, and have a lot of choice here on how we want to play, but don't pick them all. I will get onto that in the opinion section. Next, we have incredible cards like Morgana Le Fay, Woppeltinger, and many others. But undeniably, the stars of the show here are Arthur's knights, sirs, and dames. This isn't to say the other types are neglected. We have giants represented really well here, beasts too. Fae have a great representation. I really want to make a fair deck. But at the end of the day, this is about Arthur and the gang, because I think you deserve a more representative look at this set. Here is, well, just that. This is an extended breakdown of some of the cards and some of the interactions that these cards have. So as I mentioned, Morgana Le Fay is crazy. She gets her own hand. This is the kind of effect we almost never see in TCGs. Giants step into their own right with many powerful and supporting cards that target and boost other giants. It's great to see giants get a little bit of love here. An example of a couple of these will be on the screen. Sealycourt is a crazy card that accelerates draw power for both players. Sir Bedivere is straight up free draw power. Sir Galahad is kind of incredible, just straight up immunity from demons, spirits, and the undead, as I mentioned. Sir Gawain is great. He essentially is a sacrificial lamb for your more valuable minions, and draw power is always great as well. Sir Ironside is a powerful minion that buffs himself on the enemy's turn, becoming a 7/7 for 7 mana, as I mentioned. It cannot be overstated how strong that is in this set. He is able to bat away many of the bigger things that are trying to completely ruin your card. So you could use him as effectively a defense for your avatar. Sir Lamorak strikes out at everybody when he dies, making him a powerful minion to charge out with. Lancelot effectively becomes an attacking machine, endlessly resetting himself for each battle, his health being the only thing that keeps him under control. And he has 6 health. That's a pretty damn strong guy. He could potentially do a hell of a lot of damage. Sir Mordred is able to kill when he is both summoned and when he dies, while not board clearing in its own right. In combination with cards like Ominous Owl, you could set that up to assassinate specific very annoying cards or weaken defenses of your enemy. So I think he's really good. Sir Morion shoots arrows out of the sky, literally stopping projectiles from coming into the site, making him effectively a moving fortification for your sites. The 2 soldiers are just the icing on the cake, because he gives you 2 foot soldier tokens. Sir Peleus is a decently strong, very movable minion that can move through water sites. Remember in the last set how everything flooded? This could work very well with beta cards that already exist. Sir Percival is hilarious because he makes your opponent spend time focusing on him, on selecting a target for him to enter, meaning they are constantly distracted from more important things. This is more of that strategy I talked about a little while ago, where you give your enemy too many things to think about, overwhelm them, and then win. Sir Priamus blocks lethal, but causes lethal. That's, a lethal combination, it must be said. Sir Tom Thumb is a cute, quirky card that is slippery and hard to truly kill, with the ability to ride any beast. He's basically an automatic buff for them. Sir Yvian buffs a target beast and himself. The beasts, by comparison, in this set are very simple, but there are some standout ones in this set, in addition to Beta's already existing contributions. As I said, Wulpeltinga, who gains +1 for each dead beast, which, yes, that, from what I've read, does include tokens, makes it a potentially lethal card in the late game. All you'd need to do is chase the enemy with one of these and, well, they're screwed. With the benefit of hindsight on seeing what has come next, in the form of Gothic, I don't really mind that Arthur and the gang are the focus of this set. I do think the other types of cards do hold their own very well in this set when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. In a minion versus minion fight, the odds of round tablers, as I will refer to them, winning is about 50-50. There are bigger things that can crush them quite easily, and that makes them, in my mind, somewhat balanced. They do have really good effects, but keeping them alive might be a bit of a problem if you don't organize your forces properly. So I must say I like the minions in this set. The number of spells is noticeably reduced down to 33 from Beta's 81. This might feel disappointing to some of you, but it is to be expected, as Beta was a hard opening for the whole TCG. We have so many projectiles in this set, like actually so many. I'm unsure if there is more in this set than the last set, but there certainly is a lot. We also have a huge amount of archer support. But to get into some of the main mechanics in terms of these spells, I will highlight a few of the most important ones, as before. King's Council is a great one that rewards the use of Arthurian cards, or really any unique ally. This is a nice all-round support and I'm a big fan of that. Pendragon Legacy is such a cool thematic card that allows you to reshuffle lost members of the Round Table, giving you a great refresh of lost Round Tablers. Peasant's Revolt is the absolute opposite of Pendragon's Legacy, causing all uniques or elites to be destroyed instantly. Earth Element gets a nice bit of support too, with Stone Rain, dealing consistent and repeating damage for each site in your hand. And finally, Tithe straight up gives you 3 sites for 1 mana, but 3 Earth Devotion. These are just a few of the spells in this set, but I think these are the most important ones. But let's be real, not every spell in any given set can be a Tithe or Peasant's Revolt, and it's good to see the power creep is kept in check here. Overall, it's an okay showing for Arthurian Legends, and I don't mean okay as in it's meh. It does what the set's supposed to do, which is provide support for the current existing sets in the game. So yeah, I'm happy with the spells. I think there's a decent bit of synergy here. The number of auras here is less than last set too, but there are many standout ones. Let's jump straight into the extended breakdown here. Even though I'm not talking about art, I will talk about the art of this card because it is one of my favourites. A Midsummer Night's Dream is a gorgeous card that offers straight up boost to fairies. Hamlet's Ablaze is a powerful site clearing card that kills minions on top of said site, presumably leaving a rubble in its wake. It represents some real power and strength in one card. And it's a 4-of. A 4-of. The Black Plague is a great one that picks off minions. And it does that continuously until there is nobody left on that side. This creates a persistent problem for the enemy to deal with, forcing them to evacuate or perish. This is a really great answer to the other colours' board clears, and we'll get into those as well. Wall of Brambles offers another one of those physical barrier cards that changes the battlefield in a vital way. It blocks off or reduces the chance of entry from a direction. That can be great for creating a stronghold or even a chokehold point for enemies, forcing them to where you want them to go. The Great Famine is another brutal fire card. It again causes a persistent problem for the enemy, and anything that does that keeps the enemy from plotting their own attacks and moves, having to dedicate mental resources to the tasks that you're doing instead of plotting ahead and planning what they want to do. The Great Drowning of Men is a powerful clear that smashes everything on a site to absolute pieces. It's Water's answer to Hamlet's Ablaze, in my opinion. Just powerful removal that just wrecks everything on the site. For some reason in this set, from what I've seen anywhere, Air does not get a board clear. This is kind of understandable, but a little bit disappointing. Air instead gets to shoot lightning from its fingertips like Darth Sidious. As funny as that is, and as obtusely overpowered as it might seem from the perspective of a viewer of those effects. But it would be nice to have parity between these different kinds of cards and give everybody a bit of a board clear. Auras here are doing some incredibly heavy lifting for this set. Auras are permanent fixtures that affect a location, so having them have such a varied number of effects really helps make this set. I really like the auras here, and I think they complement the prior set very well. No ifs or buts, these cards are solid. Being Arthurian Legends, this set will inevitably have so many rich and glorious thematic artifacts that you will be familiar with from the stories. Some are just historical and some are quintessentially British, some are specific to the lore. Which is which, I don't know. My knowledge of Arthurian Legends, as I say, comes from the Disney movie. Toy Story 2, I think it was. "13 Treasures of Britain" has a lot of stuff on its card that we would call, well, British. This card is chaseable draw power, a moving object that both sides want to get. Again, drawing attention away from your other actions and potentially refocusing the efforts of the opponent onto getting that card. The more of this kind of thing there is in the board, the more the game deepens, and the more you or your enemy could get outright swamped by stuff to chase. Amulet of Ninani, I do apologize if I butchered that pronunciation, is a 1-cost immunity from magic. Crazy cheap, and of course it's a 1-of being a unique. You can use this to protect your card from 1/3 of the types of damage that I know can be done. The other being attack damage and effect damage, and another one I can think of being destroying a card by destroying the site that it is standing on. Bailey is a straight up defensive setup, stopping enemies from being able to enter on foot. This turns any site you choose into a fortification. Cold Iron Rod disables fairies. Disable, if you're not familiar with it, just completely knocks them out basically. Puts them to sleep. Excalibur is, well, the epic card that we would expect it to be, and rewards the user, basically for being King Arthur, giving it +1 and immunity if he happens to be wielding it. Failnaught Bow boosts range a lot. Useful for buffing ranged minions and their attacks. For Waters of Paradise neutralizes the threshold cost and reduces the cost of casting a spell by 4. This is pretty much a gateway into playing some really nasty stuff. Again, apologies if the pronunciation is off, but Forbury Knot turns a minion into a highly resistant and strong fairy. Golden Harp reduces damage from strikes by 2. This is a good little card to counter one of the most prominent attack types in this set. Goswit Helmet. Uno reverses a strike attack and then returns back to your hand. It's a 3-cost repeatable strike deflector. There are many more, but we're going to cut to some of the truly exceptional ones here. Just a Rock turns enemy relics into, well, just a rock. That's crazy. You can turn the Holy Grail into a rock, which, by the way, the Holy Grail isn't in the set. We'll get into that later. The Round Table is, of course, a buff for players of Knights of the Round Table, giving a buff of a draw for each one you play at this location. Okay, it isn't spectacular, but it is a free draw power and a good encouragement of playing this set Sirs, Dames and Knights. Overall, there is a lot to love here, with a lot of neutral support, anti-cards and protection. Some of these are definitely more powerful than others, but I think that is bound to happen, and unavoidable in any set. We will get to the Holy Grail, as I say. I will speak about it at the end. In our last stop in this set, we are taking a look at sites. This is where the set really shines. Let's go straight into the extended breakdown. Annual Fair gives you +1 devotion of any colour for 1 cost. This is going to be a crucial part of your deck, I reckon. Avalon is an outright accelerant, providing 1 of each devotion and 1 mana for everyone. I had some serious questions about this one at first, but after sitting with it for a while, I think I get it. It's the game is too slow, make it faster button. That, or it's the key to the game's equivalent of MTG's kill them with friendship and draw power strategy. Take your pick. But you probably should play this card. Babbling Brook is a site that paralyzes anybody on nearby sites. This could, if used correctly, be a fantastic way of beating back undesirable enemy minions. If used incorrectly, it could be a brilliant way of screwing yourself over. Beacon is a great way of getting yourself some free mana by playing it directly next to enemy sites that are rich in units. Bog paralyzes in a similar way to Babbling Brook, but instead it makes the minions unable to move for a turn. That's nearby, by the way, for both it and Babbling Brook, meaning they're stuck in the muck for a whole turn. That effectively makes those minions potentially vulnerable to attack. Bonfire clears up the field of weapons, which are essentially buffs, and armor, which are defenses. That may give your enemy a bit of an edge. This is only for nearby though, so it has limited use. Bower of Bliss is great for getting rid of round tablers. This isn't a Genesis, by the way, this is forever. This effect just happens. Briarpatch hampers or hinders movement, but only slightly. Remember, minions heal at the end of the turn, so this card may simply represent, in terms of playstyle, a filter for weaker minions such as foot soldier tokens, because they would, in fact, upon entering Briarpatch, die. So this card might instead be used as a bit of board building, a way of strategically controlling the flow of enemy minions. Bronzolande, I don't know how to pronounce that one, is a very special site that debuffs mortals, buffs fairies, and gives beasts an edge. This is my kind of card. This set is giving me so many ideas for decks. Carillon upon Usk is a card that says play me as a part of your empire. And indeed, this card leans heavily into the whole King Arthur thing, only working if it's played on the back row. Camelot is the gateway to the Empire, as you would expect, reducing the cost of minions by 1 mana. Outside of Arthurian cards, this is also a pretty neat ability to play. Cursed Land punishes players for playing a site near it, making an area of effective void unless you pay the toll. The toll being 2 life, which is pretty ouch. Dozmeri Pool gives you the chance to play an artifact, but keeps it out of reach of the enemy. It's pretty thematic and fun. Fae City takes what we knew about fairies and turns it on its head, transforming them into missiles. Yes, tapping them gives you a projectile, suddenly making a deck that we would think of as innocuous into one that quickly can mess up your enemy. Fields of Camlan forces a standoff, the likes of which can change the tide of game. Holy crap. Choose one minion, kill the rest is powerhouse of a card, let alone a site. We are skipping some mid-tier or ancillary effects because I just want to talk about the creme de la creme. Impenetrable Copse is another card that blocks projectiles. Yes, that is important when you see what we saw from Fae City and the like. Kelp Caverns is a seer from beta in a card. Merlin's Tower is a straight up spellcaster for a turn and lowers the casting cost to possibly free. Poison Well deals damage to the enemy for each site near it that they control. Pond is great for supporting beasts. Poston Gate is basically a forced rubble. Tournament Grounds, effectively you create an area to draw an enemy's attention. Troll Bridge is a nastier, meaner version of Bridge Troll from beta. Interestingly, you could play them both. Valley of Delight is a flexible, diverse site that can be turned into any devotion type you need. Varmint Warrens creates a safe retreat for beasts. Wedding Hall is... I don't want to descend into a rant here, but it's an immediate win condition. I will get onto that in a bit. Finally, Wormlow Tump. Opponents can't affect cards in your cemetery. This is good. It protects your precious cards and your strategies. There are so many thematic, powerful and fun cards in this category. Many are round table adjacent, many are the direct opposite, preventing the round tablers from getting their strategies off. Many are just outright broader support for other card types. Some are just highly strategically viable cards for the broader game itself, outside of Arthurian legend. I think that there will be something in this set for everybody that you will at least consider adding to your deck. This would be a solid set to play your first game, I think. It takes what was already there in the form of beta and adds depth, flavor, and new factions into it. I'm in love with this set, and I think in particular it lends well to draft play. The set overall is really well designed as a set within this TCG's landscape, but it stands out as a set in its own right because it has its own identity, and I'm really glad it managed to achieve that, because if this set was terrible, I would be absolutely heartbroken because it is one of the coolest themes that they could have done. There are some absolutely fantastical level cards, and there are some great cards, and there are some good cards. Nothing here is horrible. Not even close. I've mentioned it before, but Midsummer Night's Dream is absolutely mythical levels of beautiful to me, as well as Lady of the Lake. There's so many more standout cards that could really be art in their own right, hang on a wall in some art museum. There are so many other cards that I could have mentioned that absolutely stand out on their own. This set continues the legacy of the previous set, which is a really positive thing. And that is to say, it allows artists to actually be artists. It allows them to paint their vision, and it allows them to have space to breathe and to express their art how they want to express it. Keep doing what you're doing, Erix Curiosa, please. We need more of this kind of gorgeous art. We need more, not less, freedom of artist expression and their values and their attitudes within the art in these games. It's what makes card games actually worth playing. The Holy Grail is one of, if not the most important part of the Arthurian legend. It is talked about by scholars to this very day. It is questioned as to whether or not it even existed. Why is there not a playable version of this card? Officially on the Curiosa.io website, there is not even a sniff, not even a mention of this card. But we, the public, know it exists. This creates an effect that I like to call limbo. Limbo cards, i.e. cards that exist in multiple editions, multiple artworks, multiple depictions, but don't exist on any official database, and don't exist outside of eBay listings. This is the first true instance outside of the Dragon set that I've seen this level of hyper-serialization. Hyper-serialization is, well, the extreme serialization of a card, a number of cards, or indeed sets that mean you will never ever be able to get access to those cards unless you print them off yourself. And of course, that will be more than likely frowned upon. It's often done to boost prices or to create artificial scarcity, to promote a set by boosting sales, by creating a sense of FOMO. Or at least in some instances it is. But my question for Eric's Curiosa is, what the hell possessed you to make the most important artifact in this story, indeed in multiple mythologies, so actually physically rare and hard to get? This is the dumbest thing. By all means, give it the One Ring treatment. Make a version of it that is playable and a version that is super duper mega collectible for the people who like to chase things. But this is not a solution. This is creating hype for the sake of creating hype, creating chase in a market for the 3 or 4 or 7 or whatever number of variants you want. And if you do pull one, it will end up being the wrong one, and you will end up trying to sell it online and not making any money from it. Meaning that overall, all of these super duper nice quality cards and these high rarity cards will end up in the vault of some really rich whales. And indeed, I have confirmation locally that whales do support this game wholeheartedly for this exact reason. This isn't my only concern. I do wonder how well some of these incredibly powerful cards will hold up, say, in the hands of a new player. Because new players will not have experienced any of the mechanics of this TCG and have a lot of things to look up. My final concern isn't so much a concern, but a warning for players of this set. If you play the mainline Guinevere wedding hall strategy, it will 9 times out of 10 not work unless you are doing some crazy strategic stuff. You will not successfully form the marriage. A very, very weird sentence to say. It is effectively one of the big win conditions of this set. If you're an inexperienced player drawn in like a moth to the flame by the stories of King Arthur and the legendary stuff that you read about, trying to replicate the strategy will probably have you fail and not have very much fun as a result. It's a trap. Do not fall for it. Overall, though, those warnings aside, those critiques aside, I think this is a fantastic set, and I will be picking up a box when I can. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching.